Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a CarmCast. And typically, we go out at noon Eastern Time. It's 3 p.m. And it's good to be on at a different time. It changes things up a little bit. We're here to talk about why trade associations are so darn important. I got a great cast. Cast. Isn't it interesting? Now you're all a cast. I have a great. I have a
We're
great.
we're the talent.
Yeah, you're the talent. Yeah, you're the talent. Oh
That's
my
scary.
God! Can't
Usually
imagine what.
cast of characters.
Well, that could be too. Absolutely, there's no doubt because I think the entire industry knows everyone here who's on the forum. We have Jamie Carlson from Irvine's in Grand Rapids Hybrids in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hey, Jamie.
Hello, how are you?
Good to have you here. Brin Kline's with us, Assured Auto Works, Melbourne, Florida.
G'day, everybody.
And Brin, you have your AAM, right?
I do, yes.
From AMI. Cool. And Scott Brown is here. Connie and Dick's, Claremont, California, and CEO Diag.net. Hello, Scott.
Hey, hello, Carm.
And we're missing David Tulkin, and he had I believe something to do. Something came up, so as soon as I see him show up in the backstage green room studio, we are going to add David to our mix. But we're here to talk about associations. Now, look at everyone. Thanks for Shop-Ware for bringing this to me and helping assemble this great panel. They all have something I know to provide and to give about associations. I believe, this is me, that our industry is vibrant because of associations. And all you have to do as an individual who earns their living in this great essential industry of ours is to be a player and to participate and to value what associations can do for you, no matter if you take on everything available or not. You need to belong. And Scott, I know that you're a proponent to the value that associations bring to us at the legislative level. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the fact of the matter is that there are associations out there looking out for our benefit. And even if you're not involved with the trade association, but you're in our trade, you are benefiting from their efforts. And you can't really, this is a big world, this is a big industry, and you cannot do this alone. You need allies behind you. And, I've seen this happen over and over again. I've had, shop owners come up to me and say, man, I can't believe there's this new whatever, regulation or whatever. Why do we have this going on? Well, if you would have looked back 5 years ago, you would have seen some people that were trying to either oppose it or help reshape it or what have you. And that's usually led by trade associations. Yeah. And sometimes you have multiple trade associations working, in concert. There may be a federal mandate over, say, your local state. Yeah. So, the benefits to being part of the association is the benefits are sometimes hidden. Unless you start peeling back the layers. But, my recommendation is to look and see what didn't happen as a result of the efforts that the trade association has done on your part.
And think about it, everyone. We are in this unbelievable time of technology, and everybody wants to tell you how technology plays in your life. And if we don't have people paying attention to, and the other crazy thing, and I don't want to get into this right now, but, every state's got their autonomy laws, I believe, Scott, and how they will allow and won't allow and what level it's going to be so crazy in the future that, can you imagine driving your car from one state to the next and having your car have to know I'm in this state and I have to behave like this?
Yeah, and I think you just touched on something very important. These legislators, they get a wild hair, and all of a sudden they know what's best for our industry when they have no clue as to what we deal with day in and day out. And this is what you really need trade associations to head off, because there's some crazy ideas that come out. And one I hear a lot of it seems to be a recurring theme is that you've got folks out there that they want to generate new revenue streams, of course, right? So, hey, why don't we tax labor, right? I know that there are some states out there that tax labor, but gosh, we're in California here. We don't need any more taxes. But these guys, they will bring it back up. And if somebody's not standing guard and paying attention, one of these days something's going to hit us upside the head, and we're going to say, well, "What happened?"
Yeah, I love what you just said, gang. Standing guard. And I know that ASCCA out in California, man, they stand guard.
Yeah, we've got a lobbyist / attorney that really he is integrated with a number of other associations out there, but he knows our business. He knows the automotive trade. He knows the secondary and the tertiary effects that could happen. Somebody may come up with a great idea and they're going, well, what about this? And a lot of times these folks are not thinking, the secondary level of what are the unintended consequences. So
Absolutely.
yes, yeah, they definitely they've got their eye on the ball, so to speak.
Hey, David, I see you just joined us. Glad to have you, my friend, from
Yes.
Shop-Ware.
Glad to be back. Thank you.
No problem.
Excited to see everyone.
And obviously we're well into our great discussion here. Brin, I guess because we're independent, we may need some help at national or state level.
Absolutely. And that's there's so many things, like Scott was mentioning, there's so many values to trade associations. But one of the things that I think about is we really enjoy our independence in the independent or aftermarket, right? And sometimes it's to a fault and it can be lonely. So by participating, not only becoming a member, but preferably participating in trade associations like Scott was alluding to, paying attention to what's going on, because these guys are behind the scenes trying to make sure we're aware of things that are coming down on a legislative level or technology or whatever. So, yeah. We definitely appreciate and celebrate our independence, which we should. But by joining a trade association, we can get the best of both worlds. We can have the support. We're no longer lonely. We have friends, like Scott also was alluding to. We can't do this alone. It's tough. It's a tough industry. So, absolutely.
Hey, gang, don't wait on me to have this great conversation that we're here to share. Jamie, associations for you. I believe that you're part of Women in Auto Care.
Yes, I am. And I think that came about, though, we were members of ASA maybe a year or two early on. And I think it can be very easy to justify when you are new and struggling that costs how much a year, and you have other people who will pipe in and it's not that much a year. But I think ASA and other organizations like that now are a necessary investment to have that person on our payroll who's looking out for our company and who's, keeping track of legislative things. And I know one of the big things ASA did in Michigan was remove the core charge or the sales tax on core charges. Well, when you're installing hybrid batteries, that's a lot more on a bill when you have to charge them on that. So that was nice, but also something we never could have taken on, even as a group of shops, without a professional. And I also think just networking to me is a word like millennial. I don't like to just toss that out there, but I do have contacts with so many professionals across the country who I trust and I value their opinion. And I think it goes both ways. And some of them are even friends now. That I never would have had we not joined some organizations. And, maybe you'll join an organization and it's not for you, but you meet someone there and you end up in another organization. So
Yeah.
It's been really good for us. I think we weren't really joiners till about 5 or 10 years ago. And it has made a huge difference in our business. And we've been at this since 1994.
I think networking is big. I agree wholeheartedly. And today, I hear folks argue that it's very easy to network. There's a lot of online groups and stuff like that. But what I've found with trade associations is It's less noisy. The relationships you build and it's not diluted, if that makes sense. There's the people that you become friends with, like you were saying. They're amazing people, awesome people, great business people. The relationships have definitely been there. And like I was saying, some of the other sources that some might say are good network opportunities, they are, but they haven't been the same for me as trade associations participating on that level.
Yeah, I would agree, Brin. I mean, I can honestly say that when I think about like all of the great relationships and connections I've made, none of them have been on virtual conferences, right? I've always said it is very much about feet on the street and being present and being in front of people and going to conventions and going from booth to booth and seeing people and breaking bread, right? This is a very much, in my opinion, like a face-to-face organization. And we have been forced to do business different ways now that there is this pandemic. But, I hope that as soon as it's over, we go back to the way things were, because I think this industry runs much faster when people are able to get together and have those face-to-face interactions.
Yeah, one of the things.
Go ahead, Scott.
Things I wanted to chime in on what Jamie was saying, about the cost, and that's what a lot of people look at, right? They look at this as a cost. It's really not. That's not the way to look at it. It's more of an investment. I know that here in California with our ASCCA group, if you remember, you get 30 minutes of free legal advice every month. So if you had a question you wanted to bang off of the state attorney, you can phone him and have a conversation with him. And again, he's got a very deep knowledge sense of what the variables are around our businesses, and that in itself is a huge asset. And then you add on the other pieces. They've got a lot of partners and sponsors that help fund the association, but they also are reciprocating by bringing certain discounts, whether it's for uniforms or what have you. So there's a lot of benefit there above and beyond the legislative efforts that the trade association brings forward.
And I want to make a point, everyone, about getting yourself to an association conference. Everyone has mentioned all the right things. David, I want to kind of tackle on what you just said. Now, when this thing is over with and we're back to whatever the normal is going to be, there's no doubt we're going to be getting together again. And if it's your first time going to an event, Jamie, I think you could really relate to this because it's been so recent for you. Mm-hmm. But the first time I ever went to an association event, I drove home and I said, how can I not do business and go to these events and connect with the people that I met and call these people with the business cards that I met and the vendors that I met and the things to help my business. And today, more than ever, it's important to have that extended peer network. Mm-hmm. And I want you all to comment on the reaction that you had when you attended your first event.
Well, I would like to caution people that if they don't feel that way after their first event, keep going. I don't think most people would believe it, but I'm kind of shy. And I would just kind of, stand back, or I'm not big on small talk. But when you go, and I think when people, especially when we go to trade association events, we're speaking about things that we live every day. So when you can kind of start sharing those things, I think, that makes a difference. And the typical networking was just if it's over cocktails or something. I don't think you get it. I couldn't get it just from that. I had to go and kind of get more into it. And when I went to Women in Auto Care the first time, we were up on a rooftop in Tennessee, and I met somebody who I said, well, how's it going? Or, one of those questions. She goes, awful. We had an awful month, and she just laid everything out there real honest. And I thought, I like her. She's one of my best friends now. And she's also runs a very successful business and runs it in a way that I would be honored to have people think that I ran my business like hers. So.
Yeah, I'll chime in. A lot of the relationships that I have today would be non-existent because of the fact that I went to trade associations or trade association events, conventions or what have you. And really, you go there usually for education. There's some formal classes you're going to attend. You're maybe going to go into a trade show, but there's a huge amount of knowledge being gained just by the networking, just like what Jamie just mentioned. You're listening to somebody else's pain points. Well, this is how we learn and adapt, right? It's all about micro learning. We're learning through the experience of others, and I've been witness to the fact that you can exponentially grow your knowledge base and your awareness by simply networking with other individuals. And so, a trade association, I consider that to be another one of those feeds that you bring into your daily consumption of data. There's lots and lots of white noise and data to try to filter through. And like Brin said, it gets extremely noisy. But you can start paring that down to the really good essential components, and then you've got a nice feed that helps to raise your level of professionalism, and it should also bring success to your enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brin, I want to ask you. I remember meeting you. I believe your wife, and you met my wife Ann in Florida at an event. And I mean, there's nothing like breaking bread with people that you get to know in the industry, and you just must love to do that.
Absolutely. And I loved that David said that, because I love that term. And to Jamie's point too, I want to go back a little further even. I worked in this industry for years without knowing that we had anything like that. I think it was 2011, I heard of Cars was going to be in Orlando, just an hour away from us. And I was blown away that we had conferences, and we were professional enough to have conferences. So I attended that, and it took 2 or 3. So I'm 100% on board with what Jamie said. I'm similar. I'm not really outgoing generally, but after several conferences and putting yourself out there and stepping out of your comfort zone and starting conversations and making friends, it starts to become amazing, things that you look forward to every year. The other thing that I think is interesting, if we fast forward a little bit further to, I think it was Auto Mechanica 20 in Atlanta. I remember, I think it was 2018. I can't remember exactly, but what I found there, and I found it other scenarios as well, what's so interesting is that most people, some people that are aware of events, they don't realize that trade associations are behind like almost all of them. So they start to wonder, what's this going to do for my business? Well, what has it? It's already been doing things for your business for years. You're just totally in the dark for some reason about it. So, but to your point, in Orlando there, it was awesome seeing you guys, and I had great conversations with you and your wife. Love your wife. Yeah, I mean, just being able to talk about your pain points, hearing other people's pain points, learning from them, sharing with them some of the things that are working for you, and just amazing relationships that come through that.
I love Brin's point. You go to an event and you don't even know it's sponsored by an association, and you don't even care to join or think about it. And because there's thousands that go to the events that don't belong to the group that's sponsoring it. And I think we almost need to stop for just a minute. And then there's one other thought that I pulled from this, because, I can't listen to a panel without all these ideas going through my head. And the other one was call a friend. One way that you get to call a friend is to meet someone, and you meet them in association events.
Yeah. The NACE Auto Mechanica in Atlanta there was unbelievable, because I was trying, I'm a believer. I'm trying to sell colleagues and friends on the associations, and they're like, well, what is ASA? What is ASA? And I'm like, we're standing in Auto Mechanica, literally right next to their booth, and their label is on everything because it's their show, But the call a friend thing, for sure. That's another point that I wanted to make. I know how you feel about business coaches, and one of the things that I think we're very fortunate in this industry. It's very challenging, but we have the resources that we have are unbelievable. One of them being trade associations. But I know how you feel about business coaches, and they are amazing. We're very fortunate to have a lot of coaches in the industry that understand what we do every day. But some, especially new shop owners or people that just like paint, I guess, don't see the value in some of those, in something like that. So I think what trade associations can do for those folks is kind of bridge the gap, kind of help them to start making the right steps until they can recognize what those types of services and consultations and coaching relationships can do for them.
I totally agree with that, because I found something from 15 years ago that said something about what gross profit on parts should be. And it was some coach, I don't even remember who it was. And I thought, well, you just want us to rip people off. I didn't believe them. I didn't buy into what you need to charge to run a successful business and pay good employees a good wage. I wasn't ready for that information, but they didn't come to me on a referral from somebody. Whereas, when I met Kim and then we went to their smart group, and when all their numbers are up on the screen and they're all sharing everything and you can buy into it, then it makes you do something you never thought you'd do, which is open your books to all of them. So you really get what you give as well, but there has to be that level of trust.
That is so interesting. Think about what she said. Here she got some information standalone by itself over here. She gets the same one inside of a group with peers, and that now makes as much sense then as it does now. And I don't care if it's in a group, if it's a 20 group, you could kind of call it an association, but it's not. But it's networking. They're not legislating. They're not bringing vendors together for deals and programs and insurance. And so if you value a 20 group, you need to be in an association to get the rest that you need for your business.
Yeah, I think one of the barriers, I think, and Brin kind of alluded to it, right? He said unbelievable. Well, it is believable. But I think early on he said we are an independent association. We're independent, right? And some of us, you don't want to let your guard down. You don't want to be told what to do or be shown a different way. But you need to figure out that, hey, this is bigger than all of us, but all of us together can help to move the needle in the right direction. So you need to be part of the solution and not just standing by, pushing off.
I think it wasn't even maybe the amount of money, but that I did not want to be foolish with our money. I owned my business during the Yellow Pages era. I was not going to get stung again. It's kind of like, let's not just throw more money at things because I didn't have a good enough understanding of what ASA did and how much we need them as an industry.
It's interesting. I mean, the member benefits, or the benefits you get from becoming a member, are unbelievable. And it's tiered, right? Like, you can just pay your dues and you get, you're basically supporting the trade association that's supporting us. But then you can go up and you can get involved, maybe go to chapter meetings or go to trade shows, whatever the case may be. And then you can go even further and volunteer your time on these things. And the benefits just keep getting better and better. And it's for change a day. I mean, in most cases, it's less than a couple dollars a day, depending on what association. But and most of the time, like we mentioned earlier, the partnerships that these trade associations make with vendors that are with our vendors, most of the time, they're working together in ways that help us on a monetary value, and it basically pays for itself. So it's pretty wild, but it's surprising how, I agree, Jamie, it's not necessarily the money, but I could spend my money so many different places. Is it really a good thing to spend my money on? And it's surprising. I know most of the trade associations I know work tirelessly to try to figure out how to make sure shop owners understand the value of those trade associations. For some reason, there's still a disconnect. It's weird.
That is super interesting. And that is one of the things that as a vendor participating in these groups, one of the benefits of being a vendor, usually with a lot of these associations, is, sometimes they will share their membership list with you and say, these are the members that we have, so you can offer them our programs. And a lot of times I've actually had vendors say, okay, here's our list of active customers. and here's a list of customers who have left us. And the numbers are huge, right? I mean, these associations do lose lots and lots of people every single year. And so it is interesting. And I think it's an important topic for leaders in associations to think about is, right, how are we demonstrating this value to our members on a continual basis? Because sure, like you said, okay, it's $300 a year. That's not a lot of money, but these people are obviously, they're not seeing the value that vendors are bringing them. They're not seeing the value that interacting with others are bringing them, or that conventions are bringing them, or, or at the very least, the value that the legislation, to me, that's enough. Like you said, Jamie, right? Like you're basically just hiring these people to fight for you, because if you don't, I mean, you certainly know that the dealerships are fighting for everything that they want in legislation, right? And so to leave yourself open to that attack, to me is, I mean, that's worth a couple $100 in itself. So bringing it back, though, I think it's about associations getting together and perhaps they need to network about how they can demonstrate the value back to their members, because it's even harder during this pandemic to keep everybody engaged as well.
I think it boils down to like our clients, right? We try to build relationship with our clients, super strong ones, where they just love your company, they love you, and they want to tell everyone about it. I think it's going to boil down to that. Jamie kind of alluded to it a moment ago. She heard these coaches talk about these gross profit percentages and how she just didn't believe them. But once she started to attend these 20 groups, I think if people that you already know around you maybe are selling you on the value of this, it's going to be more valuable than just sight unseen kind of thing.
I have a comment, everyone, about training. And help me go back in time a bit. Let's just say 8 years ago, Scott, Brin, Jamie, David. It was the associations who were bringing us together, having a show, but having coaches and management training and technical training. And when we look at what we're doing today and the change in the pandemic and everything online, and there's online coming at us from so many different directions, you almost have to look back and say, thank God for the associations. If not, where were we going to get our training? It really, I believe, helped us. Am I right, guys? If you look back, was that the impetus of the training that we were getting and we still are getting?
I mean, I remember going to an ADOS training a few years ago that was through ASA that other people were not offering at that time. We're lucky enough to have John Thornton come to town quite regularly in Grand Rapids. And so we always had that. So I don't know that we look to an association. And sometimes training that was provided by a parts supplier just wasn't maybe up to where our technicians needed to have, what kind of training they needed to have offered. Because not that they know everything, but they're all ASE masters. So some of the beginning classes wouldn't be worth their time to go to on a Saturday. And we had John Thornton, so.
I mean, that's a good point. There's certain pockets of the country, the Midwest being one, that gets hit heavy with really, really good technical training. But there's still a lot of areas across the country that really don't get that consistently. So, but most of the times, and what's interesting is the trade association events. What do you think the percentage of local attendees are, Scott?
Very low.
Yeah, most people are traveling for.
Yeah, but the one that can speak right to what Carm was bringing up is the folks at Milwaukee, in the Midwest, the Vision Conference. Yeah. That was heavily fueled by the top tier training. I mean, and that's what people gravitated towards, and it definitely fueled success both on the technical and the management side. So yeah, associations definitely need to align themselves with a good feed of investing in those top level trainers, because they will draw. And if you can bring it in as a benefit for being a member, it's one thing that the trade association will be able to market that event, and they might even get some attention from some players that are not even members of the association. which is a double whammy for the trade association. But like David said earlier, I think the biggest challenge there for a lot of these trade associations is actually articulating what exactly they're selling or what are they bringing to the table. Where is the value? And that is definitely a tough task to illustrate that.
It has been for some weird reason, because there's so many reasons to just join. But a lot of the conversations we have internally are how do we get the public to know? It's and it's not for a lack of trying. I mean, most of them that I know of are marketing heavily in social media, and they're doing events, and they're marketing for the events, and they're doing stuff in with Carm, on remarkable results. And there's it's not for a lack of trying. I think most of the time we're in our small pool, independent shop owners, right? And we're just dealing with the fires all day and every day. We're dealing with everything that makes this a challenging industry. And it's to us that when we see anything, it's just noise and we're just moving it. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it's important for people to see the value in joining associations, is making sure that we're sharing, that value with our colleagues.
Okay, I have a challenge. So when you think about recruiting and bringing on new members, you'd always I wish we had a full-time salesperson in our association that we can go out and call on door to door. And hell, I remember years. I'm still a board member of an association for many, many years. And we back in the day had salespeople, and it wasn't difficult to walk in face to face, make your presentation, and walk away with a new member. But that methodology and cost isn't available to us today. And then we look at each other as members and say, how do we, call the shop down the road and say, I got to have you become a member of ASA, Milwaukee, IGONC, whatever it is. And we're not doing enough of that. So I guess my question is, we're talking good, we're talking large about associations right now, but how could we have people shake their head after they listen to this thing and not know what to do next? And what can we do as an association to grow our membership?
I'll jump in there first. I think it would benefit a lot of shop owners out there if they took a different look at their business from different perspectives and see how they kind of stack up as far as from a credibility standpoint. If you are not a part of any association out there and you're running a business, consumers are probably looking at that. There may be a very small percentage, but those people are making decisions about who they're going to do business with. And if they can see that you're associated with other, entities out there that have credibility behind them, then that certainly adds some trust, a simple layer of trust. And then, if you're looking at your business and then you're looking at trade associations, go out and look at some of the shops that are affiliated with those associations, and you'll see right away that, hey, you know what? Why isn't my shop part of this group? So that's my pitch. How's that?
Well, and I think we just got our thank you letter for renewing our membership, and I'm a bad member. We haven't been to anything in a while. I think, Carm, I saw you at something over the summer, or maybe it was last summer in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
But
we sat next to each other, Jamie.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think there have been any other events, but it's funny because then I was looking for Ray's information today. I was going to contact him before this. And it's like, oh, there's classes to take. I think as shop owners, we have really been spinning some plates these last 7 months, and it's been hard to keep up on that stuff. But this is going to maybe give me the catalyst to kind of look back into that, because I know it's necessary to support them with more than just money.
Hey, look at a big paragraph came in from Greg. Let's see what he has to say here. Greg Buckley, the associations are amazing and filled with great people, but it comes down to the energy that's generated from the local levels. While that's very true, if the shops share a common bond over any subject matter, it will succeed. If there's no commonality or purpose, probably not. Doesn't matter how big the national organizations are, every profession suffers from the same thing. Well, that's a dose of reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree. I think I understand where he's coming from. Basically, you can have a national or a regional association, but if you don't have things kind of occurring fairly frequently in a smaller local level, then it can be tough. It can kind of fade, and it's easier it's easier for you to see the value if there's a lot of stuff the association is doing regionally to you. And I think there's value there, even if there's not, but I understand that certainly can help recruit members if there is stuff. But obviously now it's kind of difficult to do things like that. ASA Florida's done the shop owner support virtual stuff in lieu of the chapter meetings that we're not able to have, and that's been helpful. And it's just intimate enough where you feel like you're kind of similar to a chapter meeting. You still can just kind of hang out and network and talk shop. So I know what I do. I do some mobile diagnostic and programming work, and then we do some work for other shops in our shop. But I also do some training in the area. And some of the things I do, it hasn't been hugely successful, but I plan to offer some incentives for the shops to basically become members through the services that we provide to them. And that's not something everybody can do, but that's what we've started to try to do here recently.
Hey, everybody, what I heard here was chapters. And Scott, I know ASCCA has a ton of chapters. Brin, you've got ASA National, you've got states, and then you've got chapters within it. And I don't think we're rushing the idea that when we've got the vaccine and that's all behind us, and we look back, I can't help but think we have to use the words essential. We're essential. And that should take our 2021 strategic plans to a new level. I mean, think of the blessings that we got because we were essential. Well, let's do something with that. Let's go to the next level. Let's use a show like this and this discussion to move us into a greater participation in our associations.
Yeah, one of the other cool things that the trade associations do, and in fact, I was witness to it last night. I hopped on a meeting, that was after our other meeting that we had, Carm, and this was a San Diego chapter that had the Bureau of Automotive Repair chief on the call, and he was basically sharing some of the challenges and things that the state is dealing with in regards to auto repair, and yeah, we all feel a great level of gratitude to be presented to by somebody at that level, and sharing some insight as to what the pain points are. But where else are you going to get that kind of exposure? It's crazy.
Yeah, you're not going to invite him to your company meeting, right? He's not going to probably want to show up to that.
They don't even need to know our address.
Yeah. Oh, and I see Greg Buckley here, and I know Greg very well. I've been to his shop. He's a great colleague. Yeah, he's got the 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 soup of Milwaukee ASA WMDA. I don't even know what that is.
That's the Delaware Association.
Yeah, they throw a good conference. I've been to their conference before. Yeah. I like WMDA.
Yeah, and so Greg looks for things to play in and participate in and take advantage of. And so, if Greg can join 8 associations, how come you can't join one? And I'm not talking to you guys, but the general audience. Yeah,
Greg probably makes the associations. That guy's awesome. Dwayne brought a good point too. Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, Dwayne just brought up a good point. Basically, I don't remember exactly what he said.
There it is.
Trade associations are guiding, training, and fighting for our rights to stay in business. That's what we've been saying the whole time. Yeah. But can you imagine what they can do for us if even 20% of the industry?
20%.
Even 20%. I don't know the numbers, but I highly doubt that we're anywhere near that.
Yeah,
I agree.
pretty incredible, and it's great to have this community of people chiming in. So Dwayne and I were just on a call an hour ago, and this is through the Auto Care Association, and we have an ADAS work group, and it's unbelievable the participation that we have at what levels. We have engineering teams that are engaged. They're providing us with perspective on things that they're doing, say, for the military on autonomous type vehicles. So we're seeing a vast array of technology and getting some insight that we otherwise would never, ever see the light of day on. So
I think a lot of us, to your point, Scott, are very humble about the extra things that we kind of do inside of our industries and what we participate in. I don't think know how to say no. But Dave Ramsey says no is a complete sentence, and that's when it comes to spending money. But we don't know how to say no. And look, as an example of how many associations, 11, 12, got together to pull off PAVE. And that's going to be such an interesting conference. And how I look at this union of groups to create the professional automotive virtual education. And think of how many regional seminars. I mean, David, think about Shop-Ware having to go to 40 or 50 in the course of when we open up, where you could literally participate in one virtual event with so many people. And I think that's an eye opener.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly excited about that. There was a time when I did travel to like 50 different state associations all in one year. I mean, there was a time when I was in a past life where we did almost 100 conventions a year, which was like a convention every other day, which is too much. So yeah, and I think it's interesting that we were talking before about association, directors and whatnot getting together and discussing theoretically how to provide value to their members. And it's interesting now that everyone's coming together for this PAVE event, and it'll be interesting to see how everyone working together and how that all transpires and what they're able to put forward for all of these different members from these different locales all coming together in one place.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think we've all learned just through the fact that COVID has had a huge impact is that a lot of companies have had to now pivot to delivering virtual education, and I've participated in a number of events this year so far. And one thing that I've observed is that we continue to improve on our presentation level, right? So that experience, and it needs to improve, because if it's the same old talking heads and a kind of a flat presentation, then it's going to get boring. But these folks, at the PAVE event, they've got some heavy duty participants that have been putting on a lot of training and learning a lot of the upsides and downsides and the techniques and the engagement pieces. And those are the parts that are really critical to making an event successful. And I really look forward to this event.
I don't mean to do a commercial for PAVE at all. I don't. But a week from today at noon Eastern, we're having a PAVE CarmCast. So if you want to find out the reasons that everyone behind this pulled this thing together and the ton of value you can get from a tune-in next week, this was great. David, anything else how you'd like to bring a conclusion to this? Any other ideas?
I wish I had, closing thoughts that would just, drop everyone to their knees, but I don't. I think what's most important is just to continue these types of things and continue the dialogue, continue people coming together. Again, I said especially during these times, because I think people are somewhat, it is much, as Brin was saying, it's much harder to stay connected. Obviously everyone's having trouble staying connected to their friends that are literally in their local area. It's even harder to stay connected with people that are in several cities away or different states and things like that without these events that we're so used to. I see this reoccurring sort of meme joke on Facebook about, as soon as all this is over, I want to be a fly on a wall at the bar, because every 30-year-old is just going to be out there going crazy and all things will be happening. And someone should do the same meme for associations, because as soon as this is all over, like whatever convention is first, I don't care if it's like the International Undercarriage Association, like everybody's going, and it is just going to be going through the roof. So I look forward to that event. You know, everyone. I wouldn't want to sponsor the open bar at that event. But, yeah.
Yeah, but they have been saving a lot of money.
Totally. So the coffers are full. They'll be ready to go for sure.
They should be saving up.
Absolutely.
I was thinking the same about trainers. Once they actually get to be in a classroom again, they're going to be running down like, high-fiving everybody like they just won at The Price is Right or something. It's going to be
like that pig, the pig in the Geico commercial that's sticking his head out the window. Saying, that's him for sure.
Well, I've never done that on a show, David. Thanks for the motivation for that.
That's what I'm here for. That's what you pay me the big dollars for.
Well, and I think personally, I need to probably call Ray Fisher, find out what ASA that we belong to is doing, because I am sure they are doing far more than I know about, so that becomes part of my conversation with other people. I don't even know if people in my SMART group are members of ASA, and that's people that we share all kinds of information with, or that they know the benefits of it.
Jamie, download their app, the ASA app, and have it at your fingertips.
I think I do, but I have a lot of I just need to make a concentrated effort. This was good bringing it up in my mind.
I'm sure the shopping apps are more important than that right now.
No, I spent all the money on the ice rink.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yes, very good. Anything else before we say goodbye and thank our great audience for hanging out with us and listening to the passion that we have for the value of associations? And thanks so much to Shop-Ware and David and Carolyn and team for bringing this to me.
Yeah, I would like to say that I'm fortunate to have found my calling. I don't think that's a luxury that many are afforded, and I'd like to say that I think that associations, amongst other things, are to a large part responsible for that. The other thing I'd like to close and say is that, well, first of all, they're here to support you, whatever association you decide. And like Jamie was saying, maybe that you sign up on one and you just don't see it, you can join another. But the other thing I want to make sure, for them to support us, they need our support. And the amazing things they could do if we could get even 20% of the industry to back them. But I want to say I really do appreciate all of the vendors that recognize the value in association, because I know trade associations are largely supported by a vendor. So since we're here with you, David, thank you to Shop-Ware big time for putting us on, inviting us on, and talking about this, because I think it's very important.
Very welcome.
Well, thank you, everyone. Enjoy. Scott, did you have something, please?
Yeah. Two things here. So when you're looking at trade associations and who to engage and who to be part of, don't limit yourself inside the box. Maybe take a look outside. I know that there's one group that I started participating with many years ago, and that's SAE, and that's a professional organization, and it gives you some perspective on things that are going to be coming our way with about a 5-year lead time. So that gives you some perspective on what's happening. And then there's other associations that are specific on certain elements. And one that comes to mind is MAX. That's the Mobile Air Conditioning Society. There's a lot going on there, and especially with we've got different powertrain systems, electrified systems out there that rely heavily on refrigeration. We now have a new refrigerant. So there's a lot of benefit that association itself can bring forward to you to make you more successful. So engage with them.
Okay, everyone. Thank you. Jamie Carlson, Irvines and Grand Rapids Hybrids in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Brin, Kline, AAM, Assured Auto Works, Melbourne, Florida. Scott Brown, Connie and Dix, Claremont, California, and CEO of Diag.net. And David Tulkin from Shop-Ware. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.